there was a lot of like it's the start of Bieber, Taylor, like a bunch of these artists.
Yeah. But my album of the year for 2010 went to Ocean Eyes by Owl City.
Oh, you know what? Okay. Fireflies was almost my top song. All right. It is 12 a.m. on a Saturday night for me. And I'm here with Nick Azurin.
Big honor. Congratulations on a new season. Right?
Yes, we are in season 2 now. So you were one of the first people I got for season 1, and people were. I remember people commenting on like that episode. They were like, "Oh, I love how it's so technical. I learned so much from this." And I was like, "Yeah."
That felt like how long ago?
That was like, I'm at the top of my head. I think it was like October, November.
Really? Wow, it feels longer than that.
Yeah.
Because you like that happened.
You were
like
one of the first episodes. We were talking about you coming back on, and then you gave me this idea. We're gonna be listing down our favorite song and our favorite album from 2010 onwards, all the way
to 2020.
To 2020. So we're gonna be going through a bunch of songs. I actually like I have a list of songs that didn't make it. I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but it's just so many. Fair. So many songs that I had to, like I listed it down, and I had to choose from like 2 songs that I absolutely loved. Right. So other than our favorite song, we're gonna have an honorable mention,
of course.
Yeah. And the criteria is whatever we want. It's whatever we feel like is the best song, either culturally or to ourselves, and we'll explain it along the way. So we're gonna start with 2010.
Okay, so
what are your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, here I want to have a quick word about each year as we go along, because I feel like it's also important to explain the significance of that year and what happened with music. That year. So 2010 was it's a very interesting place to start this list, because 2010 marked sort of the downward curve of a particular style of charting music. Like I said before earlier in the episode, 2000 to 2010 represented a very, very specific set of charting music. Like this was like the era of Justin Timberlake, with that kind of sort of manufactured pop that ruled for quite a bit, right? And in 2010, that's still the case. Like 2010 was still a really strong year for that type of pop music. And we had people following suit as well. This was the year of TikTok, like Kesha's TikTok. Yeah, this was the year of California Girls by Katy Perry. This was the year of Party in the USA. This was the year of Break Even as well.
I love that song.
It's such a good song. This is also Bruno Mars's year of Just the Way You Are. This is when that song charted as well. And so it represented a particular type of pop. But 2010, you have to realize that 2010 was also the downfall of it. This was on the downward trend of it. This is at the very tail end of that type of pop music. All and right. As we go on through the years, like very soon, 2012, 2013, you'll start to see why that's the case, and like a different type of evolution will happen. But yeah, this year, the number 1 album of the year was I Dreamed a Dream by Susan Boyle. Yeah. Which you would never see something like that charting.
I would never have guessed that.
No, you would never see something like that charting nowadays. No way. But that was the number 1 album. And the number 1 song that year was TikTok by Kesha. So
that was it the number 1 song?
Yeah. The number 1 song of that year was TikTok by Kesha.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with your honorable mention let's do song of the year first. We'll do album after. So what's your honorable mention for song of the year?
All right. So my honorable mention for the single of 2010 is Empire State of Mind.
Okay.
I feel like this song is so iconic. This song is, I went to New York a couple years ago, maybe like 4 years ago. My family sang that song every day. It is the New York song as of the moment. You know what I mean?
That's a good honorable mention.
Like when I remember my trip going there, that song plays in my head. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
At the time, I wouldn't say it was my favorite song. I'm not like on my MP3 going, oh, I want to play Empire State of Mind. Not
Mhm.
necessarily, but for this pick, I picked this song just because it was so, until today, like it's still so good when I listen to it. So
Yeah, that ages really well.
that's my honorable mention for the
That's a
2010
strong
singles.
honorable mention. That's a really strong honorable
It
mention.
ended the year top 21 on the Billboard chart.
Okay. So my honorable mention goes to "Use Somebody" by Kings of Leon.
Oh, I have it on my list. I have that on the list.
Yeah.
It's such a good
So
song.
I picked it as an honorable mention simply because it's so different from a lot of the other songs on the chart, and it's a very well written song. Like it ages very well. I listened back to it. There's an emotionality. There's an atmosphere. There's a coarseness about it, and I just think it like against a lot of the other songs on the top 100 for that year, it stands out to me the most, and I think it was a very strong song to represent something that wasn't that manufactured pop style that we see
Yeah.
so dominant that year. So that's my honorable mention. Goes to "Use Somebody" by Kings of Leon.
Nice. I like that.
All right, so your honorable mention for no. Now let's see what your song of the year.
Okay.
What was your song of
Oh
the
my
year?
gosh. So this is really
Here
hard,
goes.
right? Because
Virtual drum roll. Virtual drum roll.
I would pick a song for my song of the year, but it's on the album that I chose. So and the album's stronger than the single. So I didn't choose that for me.
Yeah.
I'm going with, and this is really, really difficult for me. But I'm going with Airplanes by Hayley Williams.
Ooh. We were so close to having the same. We were
oh
so
my
close
God.
to having the same.
I ended the year just listening to that nonstop. I was like, Hayley Williams doing pop, like that's cool. I like that. You know what I mean? There was like, and it was during the time where there was a lot of rap in the pop songs. You know what I mean? Like they'd have a verse,
Yeah, they have
or
like
they'd have a
rap
bridge.
feature.
Yep. So I really, really enjoyed that. So I'd pick Airplanes by Hayley Williams.
Airplane. Yeah, okay. So Airplanes was my song of the year for the first round. I went through the list. And then the second round I changed it. The third round I changed it.
Right.
It was very, very tricky. I was very close to putting either California Girls or Need You Now by Lady Antebellum.
Oh, that's good.
But eventually, just based on cultural impact alone, my song of the year for 2010 is Bad Romance by Lady Gaga.
You know what?
At number 8.
Can you tell me more about that? Because I know that it was a huge song, right?
It was,
but just for me, it didn't have much impact on me during the time. I guess, like, you know what I mean? I was like a 12-year-old boy. I'm like,
yeah,
like Lady Gaga, ew. But like
maybe a generation.
Yeah,
behind,
go ahead.
Just a tad generation behind. But at least in my age group, the Lady Gaga, she kind of came onto the scene kind of guns blazing, I think, in pop music. And I mean, even nowadays, she's still a name that is mentioned. And Bad Romance, I don't know, to be honest, specifically, I don't even know what was specifically about the song that made it such a big hit. The synthesizer choice that they used was very different from regular pop as well. It was kind of more gritty, more kind of snarling kind of sound. It was extremely catchy, and I just think that the cultural impact that song had on maybe not necessarily music, but just like the youth in that generation who listened to pop music. Like that song followed me in my sleep. It followed me home. I heard it in the bus. I heard it in my cafeteria when I was in high school. I heard it on someone else's phone. I heard it everywhere, and I cannot deny how powerful of a song that was to my particular generation.
Yeah.
And even edging people into just liking pop music, because I wasn't that big of a fan of pop back then, but there's no way I can deny that song wasn't catchy as hell. And I wasn't singing that like in the back of my mind, humming it in the hallways, kind of putting that on rotation in the shower. Like it was a pretty significant song. And I think that's why I gave it song of the year. Sure.
That's interesting to me, because I'm on the other end of that I didn't really listen to it, but it was also in my head. Mm-hmm. So that kind of like shows, it makes your point.
Yeah, it even for the non-fans of Lady Gaga or non-fans of that song,
It's
It's
in your
still
head.
everywhere. You can't avoid it.
If that song was not stuck in your head that year, you weren't listening to anything.
Exactly,
Pretty much.
exactly. And it was kind of it was hard to say as well because I think TikTok had a very similar effect. But
It did.
at least personally, because I mean it's number one for a reason, but at least personally, I didn't feel it as much as like Bad Romance.
Yeah.
So I was also really good at it at Just Dance on the Wii. I was really good at that song, so that's probably also why I picked it. But anyway,
I believe that.
Yeah, oh, you should. I'm killer. So album of the year, honorable mention, Trey.
Oh my god!
For album of the year, 2010.
The 2010, my honorable mention goes to Battle Studies by John Mayer. It ended the year.
Another heavy hitter for the honorable mentions, man. Jeez.
It ended the year at number 19, right? So it was originally released 2009, but it had its run also in 2010. Yep. So we all know that it's not John Mayer's most successful album commercially, right? But when you go to that album, you have great songs. You have Heartbreak Warfare. You have Who Says, Edge of Desire. You know what I mean? Like this is John trying to do more after Continuum. And it might not have lived up to Continuum.
Oh, but that's a tall ask anyway.
Which is yeah, you can't do it. So I understand. Like I'm not mad at John. Like, hey John, why aren't you writing Continuum Part 2? That's not that. Yeah. But when you go there, it's a good try. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so my honorable mention goes to Battle Studies by John Mayer.
Okay. My honorable mention for 2010 goes to The Resistance by Muse.
Okay.
Not an album that it was like, I think it's like spot number 78. So quite far down there.
Yeah.
But regardless, I was always a big fan of Muse. I think that again, one of the reasons why I picked it as an honorable mention is because it stood out from the Billboard 100. There's nobody even nowadays, there's nobody you can really say sounds like Muse.
True.
They have their own thing going for them. I think the album was really, really creative in terms of the soundscape that it presented in contrast to like the earlier Muse stuff. And it's a cool album to have on the Billboard. I think it's a cool album that adds variety, it adds freshness to the Billboard, and it puts a genre and a style of music up there that you wouldn't probably see in the rest of the top 100. So I respect it a lot for that, and that's why it's my honorable mention.
Nice. I love that explanation. All right,
I'm gonna go album of the year.
Oh my gosh! So my album of the year,
Trey.
My 2010 album of the year. Honestly, I feel like if there was one year that we should have the same album, it should be this year. If it's not, I don't think we're having the same for any other year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
We'll see. Let's see.
My 2010 album of the year is Brand New Eyes by Paramore.
Ooh, it's not mine.
Okay.
It's not mine, but yeah, okay, I get it. That was gonna be one of mine. Yeah.
It ended the year at 94. And this is the start of my journey into this music. So anything that's not for kids started out with this album, Brand New Eyes, Paramore. So you have Ignorance, Brick by Boring Brick, The Only Exception, Where the Lines Overlap. Dude, like this album is so packed with jams, like even till today.
Yeah.
I remember the time when someone would ask me, "Hey, what kind of music? Hey, what kind of music do you listen to?" If I say Paramore, I can't do any wrong. Everyone's like, "Hey, that's a great choice, kid. Keep it up." So,
I approve.
That gets my album of the year. Brand New Eyes by Paramore.
Oh, you know what? That was going to be my album of the year. And you know what? Any previous year, if we were to go back earlier than 2010, whatever the year that Riot charted, I don't care what else was on the. I don't care what else was on the top 100. Dude, Riot would take my number one pick. But my album of the year for 2010, and this was also pretty hard because there was like you said, Battle Studies existed. The Fame by Lady Gaga, which was a pretty good album as well. My World 2.0 by Bieber, I think, was out that year.
Yeah, there was a lot of it's the start of Bieber, Taylor, like a bunch of these artists.
Yeah. But my album of the year for 2010 went to Ocean Eyes by Owl City.
Oh, you know what? Okay. Fireflies was almost my top song. for this year. Like Fireflies almost edged out everything I said before.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how iconic that song is, just how much that song meant to me. I remember at the time, like there was this girl that she and I were talking. And I was like really young, and then like we kept listening to Fireflies, and I was like, I love this song. Like this song's great. Like we have something to relate about. You know what I mean?
It is a great song,
and it's just a great song. But okay, can you tell me why it's your album of the year?
So Ocean Eyes has a similar effect to what I was talking about with The Resistance, where in the top 25, because I think this album top 50, so this album's 32 that year. And in the top 50, actually I'd argue even the top 100, electronic music hasn't really made its way, you know.
Okay.
This isn't the year of electronic music.
It's
right?
not.
This is one of the only electronic albums on this top 100 list. I'd argue it's electronic, like you synth pop, but anyway. Yeah. Electronic to generalize. And again, in contrast to everything else on the top 50, top 100, it's like it's playful, it's nostalgic, it's dreamy, but it's dreamy in a very different way from what we think dreamy is now. Because nowadays, dreamy is like atmosphere, you know, it's space, it's
like your Laneys.
Yeah, it's space, it's mass, it's imagination. That's what space is nowadays. But Ocean Eyes by Owl City was dreamy in a very different way. It was dreamy in a very playful way, sort of like you're getting whisked away into like some sort of cotton candy wonderland kind of thing. This isn't like you're hyped up on LSD kind of dreamy, which is like a lot of the what a lot of the music nowadays that's considered dreamy music is trying to like portray, or at least has that a more sort of cohesive decided effect on people. But Owl City's one is just like you're in a land of cotton candy and rainbows and unicorns, and you're just there to have a good time. Like it, maybe that is LSD in a way, but anyway. And it's in that way, it's otherworldly in a very different way. And I think Adam has done, I think he's done several albums afterwards, but they're not just,
this
not
is
as
the
impactful.
most, this is the most,
this was his ode to fame. This is Ocean Eyes was so good. Fireflies, Hello Seattle, Vanilla Twilight, like these songs were, I even, and it ages really well. I listened back to it a couple of times leading up to this episode, and it's just such a great album, like so playfully, masterfully done. Lyricism is crazy. Nothing really makes sense, but in a good way. I'm
gonna listen to that whole album again. I don't think I've ever like sat down and listened to the whole thing. I should.
It's beautiful. But that's 2010. That's 2010. So
honestly,
so far,
like
zero matches, but as expected, right?
So for 2010, I remember this is like one of the first years that I started to find out what I really liked. And I'm so glad we started this list with 2010, because I had memories already in 2010 that
perfect.
You know what I mean? Like they were solid memories.
Mm-hmm.
So going through that list, I was like, what brings the most memories or the most impactful memories? And those were the songs.
Yep. And you know what? Riding on that, let's see how good your memory is of 2011.